Good morning and welcome back to our training session today. We are going to talk about how to build your personal brand and also apply for jobs. So my name is Irma Karsten. I'm with the Digital Marketing Academy, and with me today is my colleague Nelson Kalula, who will be manning your questions in the chat and answering all your questions and providing you with a whole lot of links. So the Digital Marketing Academy, the head office is based in Cape Town. We have a satellite office in Johannesburg, and then also recently opened up our European office. So welcome to everybody. And yeah, we're looking forward to spend some time with you today in this session. So I'd love to know, before we kick off, where all of you are from. Before we start the agenda, it'll be good to just let us know. We are still waiting for a few people to join. But while we are in the session, you can just let us know where you're from. That will be great. Thank you. Right. So today we are going to talk about how to manage your digital footprint and social profiles as an individual to make sure that the right trail is left online. We are going to talk about how to write your professional CV and also how to craft those cover letters when you are applying for jobs. Right, so the objective of this session then is to help you manage your online presence, right? And then also how to build a strong CV and a profile. And you will be, by the end of this session, you will be equipped with some tools and skills that you will need to apply for jobs online. Right, so we're going to talk about how to understand why your online presence is, or that your online presence is traceable. We are going to talk about how to control and manage the information that is available online about you, and then how to make sure that your social media profiles are set up correctly, and then how to post content that really attracts the right attention if you are looking for a job. And then also how to identify your strengths and weaknesses to really create an effective online profile. Right, and then we're going to talk about how to use templates for CV creation, and then some other tips and tools to make sure that you find the right job. So I see Nikki from Cape Town is on the session. Welcome, Nikki, and welcome to everybody else who just joined. Right, so before we kick off, just so that you know, just as a reminder, if you own a small business or a non-profit organization or a charity, you are eligible for free Google mentoring sessions, and you can just apply for the sessions offered by Google, and one of the skilled mentors will then help you on your digital journey to build your business or your non-profit organization. Right, I see Emmanuel is also joined. Thanks, Emmanuel, and welcome. Right, so let's dive straight into it then. I'd love to know from you individually, which social media channels do you use in your personal capacity at the moment? What type of channels do you use, and what do you do on those channels? So personally, if you go and look for me online, I use LinkedIn a lot. LinkedIn is absolutely my favorite social media platform. Not a big presence on Instagram, right? Kind of there on Facebook, but my active profile is on LinkedIn. So which platforms do you use? You can just let us know in the chat. That will also be great to let us know. Michelle is also joined from Cape Town. Welcome. And then while we are waiting for everybody else to join, let us then dive straight into today's session. So let's talk about how to manage your digital footprint and your social profiles. So I'd also love to know from you, and remember there's a bit of a delay between when you type in the chat and when I can see your comments. So it'll also be good if you can just let me know, what do you think is a digital footprint? What do you think is a digital footprint? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Right, so I'll just give it a moment and then you can chat or type for us in the chat. What do you think is your digital footprint? But while I'm waiting for your comments to come in, let us then move on. So your digital footprint is all of the stuff that you leave behind as you use the internet. So that could include comments on social media posts, on online chat forums, apps, and your email records, right? So this is your digital footprint, is part of your online history and can potentially be seen by other people or tracked in a database, depending on how and where you interact online. So every day, whether we want to or not, most of us contribute to a growing portrait of who we are online. Sometimes we don't even realize the trail we leave. So a portrait that is, it's probably more public than we think or we assume. So this portrait that we then leave behind help potential employers to look into your background and also will help advertisers to track your movements across multiple websites so that they can maybe track or target you as a potential client to see their ads. So whatever you do online, you may be leaving digital footprints behind. So there are various ways that we leave footprints. So firstly, by using social media, and we often underestimate the power of just liking a post or commenting on a post on Facebook or retweeting someone else's tweet, right? Even private tweets or comments can actually leave a footprint or a record. So make sure you know what the default privacy settings are for your own social media accounts and keep an eye on them, because these sites, these social media sites, often introduce new policies and settings that actually increase the visibility of your data. So it changes often, it doesn't stay the same. So they may rely on you just clicking OK to whatever terms and conditions they are introducing without actually reading them, because that's what most of us do. We just click OK or accept or agree, and we don't really read the entire policy or the terms and conditions. Also, you leave digital footprints by using your mobile phone or your tablet or your computer. So some apps and websites will build a list of the different devices that you have to visit those websites. And they track information about your website use habits and login details. Right. Also, you can leave a digital footprint by your online shopping behaviors. So retailers and product review sites often leave cookies on your system, which can then track your movement from one website to another. And this then allows those targeted ads that can show you products that you've recently viewed or read about or looked at online. So it doesn't matter what it is that you do online. It's very important that you know what kind of trail are you leaving behind and what the possible effects can be of that trail. So I'd like all of you to just take a minute and just search your own name on Google. You don't have to give us feedback or answers, but just look at what comes up when you actually search your own name. What do you find then on Google search engine results pages, right? So that's always an interesting exercise. But remember, you may probably be signed into your Google account at the moment. So the search engine results that are served to you, it will be based on your location and your previous search behavior. So to really understand how you show up online to other people, you should log out of your Google accounts first, and that will give you a clear indication if you Google your own name, what other people are finding about you. Right. So what is important to know is that potential employers look at social media accounts of people who apply for vacancies at their companies. And they look at these profiles for various reasons. But many of these employers may want to make sure that a candidate will actually fit in with their culture, their company, and be a good fit with their brand. Right. So what you post individually on social media could have serious repercussions on your professional life. And it could cost you your current and future job or opportunities that may be out there. So according to a 2018 Career Builders survey, 70% of employers use social media to screen candidates during the hiring process. Right. So, and about 43% of employers use social media to check on current employees. So it's not only applicable to people who are applying for new jobs, but all of us in existing roles also need to be really careful about the trail we leave online. So these employees or employers who look for these candidates and current employees on social media believe that the information they can find online can actually really tell them more about a person's character and can demonstrate their skill levels. So before you apply for that job, you should actually audit your social media accounts. And job seekers should assume that employees will check every social media platform. So it's very important that you go and have a look at what are people going to find about you online from a professional point of view. Now, hiring managers or HR managers say that what they discover online often leads to a candidate either winning that desired position or being declined. Right? So also because they believe that it can tell you so much more about their characters than words or an interview actually can. Right. So very important also to note that, employers use social media to conduct social media screenings and also look for information to support a candidate's qualifications for a job. 50% of employees or employers want to ensure candidates have a professional online persona. Because remember, the moment you are linked as an employee to a company, you become a brand advocate for that company, even in your professional capacity. If your profile is linked to a brand or a company, you always are a representative of that company. So 34% of employees want to see what other people are posting about candidates, because candidates themselves, individuals, can paint a very pretty picture about themselves. But social media can also tell us, or employers, what other people are saying about a person. So also, having said that, don't be tempted to completely erase your online presence, because that strategy can also backfire, right? So, about half of employers, about 47%, say that they wouldn't call a person for an interview if they can't find them online at all. So, that may also not be the best approach, right? So, deleting your account doesn't also guarantee that the data is completely gone, right? So instead, the best practice is keep your social accounts clean, because then there is no risk of potential employers or clients in future may find information that you don't want them to find online. Right, so how then do we manage our digital footprint? So there are several ways to keep on top of managing your digital footprint. So firstly is to clean up the content. So just be very careful of those comments, those images, or the content that you forward that may upset someone else. That could be discriminatory, or it could be really offensive to some groups or some people. So just think before you post anything or make comments or forward anything. Then also think before you click, because think about the content that you are engaging with, and the consequences of you accidentally posting it or liking it online. So be aware that something that happens on the spur of the moment, a funny picture, an angry post, can still be found online years later and be seen by employers. And we've seen many of those examples happen in social media, where public figures really have built up a good professional brand, and then somewhere out of nowhere, a tweet from a few years pop up again that can really have a negative impact on their personal brand. And this can happen to normal employers or employees like us too. So also, to manage your digital footprint, you may want to update your privacy. And that's where you need to strengthen your privacy settings, make sure you have strong passwords, and change your passwords regularly. Do not share your passwords, because that is also a risk of your accounts being hacked. Right? Also, make sure that you search yourself often. Make sure that you analyze your current footprint. Type your name into search on mobile, on desktop, and look for images as well as text. And that is what other people will find about you too. So if you're not happy with anything you find, then source the content and remove it. Or if someone else has posted the content, then politely ask them to delete it. Right, so make sure that you post positive content. Showcase the positive things that you do through blogs, through images, through video and community participations, because even the groups you belong to and the type of discussions you become involved in can really leave a negative picture. So also, you can use positive content to demonstrate that you're great, and be careful about what you share and look after your digital footprint. So employers will appreciate being able to see the fun and positive things that you do. So you can still have fun. You can still be a really outgoing, social, fun person without leaving a negative footprint. Remember that employees can see what you post and then form an impression about you. So it's important to really curate your digital footprint to make sure that the impression is a positive one. Right? So how can you change your privacy settings? So on a platform like Facebook, you can strengthen your privacy settings and then you can edit who sees your posts. Only friends, friends of friends, are your posts public, right? But also a good idea to go and review your posts and maybe content that you may have been tagged in. So a good idea, best practice is to not allow automatic tagging to be published when you are tagged in an image or content to be allowed straight onto your newsfeed. So maybe set up your settings in such a way that if you are tagged in content, that you need to approve it first before it appears on your timeline. Then you can also edit who can send you requests, right? And also you can edit who can see your friends lists. So you are completely in control of the privacy on your social media platforms. You can also change your settings on Facebook about who can look you up with your and see your email address, or who can see your mobile number that you've provided to the platform. So it may be a good idea for you to just take the time, go into your profiles, go look at what type of content you were tagged in, and also make sure that your privacy settings are set at the level that will enable you to have full control. So in terms of your privacy settings on Twitter, you can also strengthen your privacy, right? So you can privatize your tweets, so you can control exactly who can see your posts or your tweets. You can control your location information. You can also manage who can send you messages directly. And you can control who has the ability to tag you in photos and posts, which will then ultimately appear on your timelines. Right, so now that we know what a digital footprint is and how you can look after your social accounts, let's look at LinkedIn in particular. So one very powerful social platform in particular is LinkedIn. Right, so LinkedIn is a social media platform that was, or still is, designed for professional networking and career development. But LinkedIn has also evolved into a powerful social selling tool where you can really build effective networks. So you can use LinkedIn then to display your resume or your CV. You can use LinkedIn to search for jobs and to enhance your professional reputation. And you can do this by posting updates and interacting with other people, potential stakeholders, potential employers, and current colleagues, past colleagues. Right? So LinkedIn is very similar to social networking sites like Facebook, but it's based on principles like connecting with people, really connecting, posting updates and sharing and liking content and really showcasing your professional profile. And you can also send instant messages to other people on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, there are a few best practices in terms of creating a professional profile. Right, and this is where LinkedIn is typically a platform that hiring managers and people in control of these hiring processes or recruitment processes are more likely to check. So you can think of LinkedIn as a supporting tool that will support your CV. Right now, most employers view LinkedIn as a source to see whether you are legit in terms of your qualifications, your experience, right? And to just make sure that you really are who you say you are. Now, so other social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram are more of a way to get to know you personally and more about your personality, where LinkedIn is about you, the professional. So on LinkedIn, you can also add your experiences to your profile and network with others in a professional context. This is where you can share content that is relevant to what you do professionally. And of course, it's a platform where you can explore and apply to jobs. right? So there are a few key features of a LinkedIn profile that you should make sure is in place in terms of yours. So remember, your LinkedIn profile page is, showcases your career history. So this is where you can post your work experience, your accomplishments, projects that you were involved in, your education, formal education, and maybe other courses that you have attended or completed. It can show your location and many more elements. So your LinkedIn profile should be as polished, just as polished as your actual professional CV. Because then you can expect professional connections and recruiters to look at your profile favorably. So, firstly, make sure that you have a photo of yourself on the headline, because the quality of your photo, the picture, the profile picture that you choose is really important. And this should be you, the professional. So the photo that you use for your LinkedIn profile should be how you want to show up to potential employers. Right? So, and that's the first thing that people see when they visit your profile. So make sure that it's a clear head and shoulders shot where your face is visible so that people can identify you. Don't include any partners or anyone else in your profile images. Right? Also, make the pose that you strike for your profile image, make it very simple and look friendly, right? There's nothing wrong in smiling on your LinkedIn profile image. This is still you, right? It's just an online extension of who you, the professional, are, who you are. And also make sure that the background of your profile image is not distracting or too busy. Right? So remember, think from a potential employer's point of view. What are they going to find when they look at your LinkedIn profile? Very important is this, your summary is the text below your profile picture or your headline, right? And this is where it's important that you include your current title and your role so that people can actually understand what are you skilled at and what it is that you do. Now, your about section is also a chance for you to draw people with a strong first impression. So in your about section, this is where you can highlight your key experiences, your key skills and achievements, and what it is that you have to offer. So and this is also always the most difficult part for people to write, is the about section. So I need you to think about when you write your about section, when you introduce yourself to someone, a potential employer or in a professional environment, and you shake that person's hand and they ask you the question, so what do you do? The way that you would answer that question about what it is that you do, that is how you write your about section. Right? So it's always written in the first person. It's not written in third person. You are introducing yourself to people in your LinkedIn profile. Right, so make sure that you highlight those key areas that may be important to a potential employer. Then the experience section is a timeline of your experiences to date. So this is where you can not only include the companies that you've worked in, but you can also include any volunteering projects that you may support or your education and your work experiences. So make sure that you do include a start and end date to those experiences. Do not list all your responsibilities in those roles. A 1 or 2 sentence summary of what you did at a company and what you were responsible for is good. And this just supports, remember, your LinkedIn profile supports your actual detailed CV. So your LinkedIn profile is a quick way for potential employers or employers to scroll through and get an idea of the industries you've been in, the roles that you've been in, and the experience that you actually have. So a complete and optimized LinkedIn profile is a great way for you to draw and reflect on experiences that you've had so far. So make sure that yours is complete, and that will also help you to understand what areas you should include in your CV. Right, so completing your LinkedIn profile and optimizing it is step 1. But then you can also use LinkedIn, and many people do that, is to use it to grow contacts and find career opportunities. So in your profile, the My Network section, this is where you can see who you are currently connected to or your existing network of connections. And you can search for LinkedIn users to invite them to join your network and connect with them. You can also see the existing invitations that you've received from other people in your My Network section on your LinkedIn profile. So it is important to make business connections, right? And LinkedIn is a great way to gain those connections without having to be physically where the people are that you are connecting to. So LinkedIn is a fantastic opportunity to connect to the right people, online, but also really grow your professional networks. Right, so you can then connect with, so if once you've updated your profile, that is step one. Look at it from a potential employer's point of view. What will they find when they look at your profile? And then you should definitely build connections. So this is where you should connect with your colleagues at the moment, past colleagues, employers, and even executives of companies where you were involved in. You never know who will accept your invitation. So LinkedIn will also then show you who is viewing your profile, which then opens up the door when it comes to meeting new people and making important connections. So by just accepting connection requests from people that you know on LinkedIn is not always the best strategy, right? Because it's a professional platform, you should actually accept connection requests far and wide. Right, so also then in terms of building your connections, you can message people, and you can chat with your network then via the instant messaging function. So a lot of businesses are on LinkedIn. So if you're interested in working with a particular business, you can then use LinkedIn to go find the business page, the business profile, and connect with people who work for that business and more. So go find the HR managers, go find the recruitment managers, follow those pages of companies that you would typically would like to work for. And that is how you will build your network with the right people. Right, so there are a few do's and don'ts to manage a professional social media presence. So the do's are, you should show up on news feeds. So post content, keep active so that your network can actually see your profile. But also keep it professional, right? And just make sure that when you share information about your personal life, or that it's really still complements your professional profile. Right? Make sure that you nurture your relationships online. Stay in touch with people that may be valuable connections in future. Make sure that your profile images are professional. Make sure you have a professional headshot, one that clearly shows your face, and that your face shouldn't take up more than 70% of the photo. So definitely do not send spam messages to people. Be careful of criticizing people online. Be careful of projecting a negative profile by making negative comments or complaining or getting involved in arguments or debates online. So also think about the personal content that you post. What is it that on LinkedIn specifically, you should not post too much personal content because that's not what LinkedIn is built for. And then also on LinkedIn specifically, don't send unnecessary messages to people who have viewed your profile, because that kind of feels like, really stalking people. So just be very careful. Right. So in terms of what type of content works or best practices in terms of sharing content, now what is important is what you post matters. Every single piece of content you create on social media matters. So whether you post on LinkedIn or Facebook or any other social media platform, people can see what you post. And often when I scroll through news feeds, I'm amazed about what people post, people that I work with in a professional capacity. And I'm thinking, do they even realize that their clients or colleagues can actually see this content? So it may be a good idea to just go and revisit yours. Right? When you post, make sure that you share useful information to people that you are connected to. Showcase your knowledge. Share content that won't offend anyone. Right? Don't be, negative towards specific people or specific groups, and be careful of those topics that could spark heated debates. Also, make sure that you use relevant hashtags, especially on LinkedIn, because hashtags give an indication of what your post is about, and then it also makes your content discoverable. So that is great thing. To use hashtags is great for reaching out to like-minded people and like-minded audiences online and to network with the right people. Also, make your posts visual. So post images or videos, highly visual content actually draw people in and they bring your post to life and they actually catch the attention of people looking at your content. So you can also start or join conversations. So you can drive conversations with your network by commenting on other people's posts. Just be positive in your comments, right? And then invite people to participate in your conversations. You can mention them by using the @ in your posts, or you can ask questions, or you can share and exchange points of views or join groups. Right, so let's look at a quick example on the screen. Now, what do you think is wrong with this post? If you look at the first post that was posted by Joe Soap, what do you think is wrong with this post? I'll give you a second to read it. Okay. So this is a good example of how to get fired, right? Because Joe Soap actually forgot that his boss is online too. So be very careful about what it is, the comments you make, the jokes that we often make about our employers, our jobs. Be very, very careful because they are also watching and seeing, right? So look at this one, for example, right? This is also can be very expensive, what is the word that I'm looking for? It can be risky to post a post like this because your boss can also see that you are not really doing your job while you're online. Right, so be careful of making those little snide comments and be careful to not offend or to get yourself into hot water by it may seem as an innocent post, but it may not seem that way to your superiors. Right, I'm just going to pause for a moment for questions. I don't see any questions in the chat at the moment. I see that Ashante says her LinkedIn profile is up to date. She uses LinkedIn every day. Fantastic, Ashante. You should connect with us. LinkedIn is a fantastic tool to stay connected. Right, I don't see any questions, but please let us know in the chat if you have any. We are more than happy to answer your questions, and Nelson is also in there manning the chat for us. Right, so let's look at how to write professional CVs. Right, so what type of information should you include in your CV? So we're going to look at quite a few different elements, but maybe you can also review your CV again. If you are in the job market, make sure that you include this information in your CV when you build it. Right, so remember, your CV is your chance to shine and to show what you are really made of professionally. So you should definitely include personal information, your full name, how potential employers can contact you, and also, your header of your CV. You should always edit the header to match the role that you are applying for, so that recruiters can actually see that you are a fit for the role. And also do include a summary. So like your about section on LinkedIn, where you summarize your profile, you should write a summary about you, the professional. Why are you passionate about the role that you currently have or the role that you are applying for? In your CV, make sure that you showcase your experience. And this is similar to your LinkedIn profile, where you can show where, the roles that you were in, your education, where did you work? Do you have any volunteering experience? And it also can show the dates where you were involved in specific companies or in specific roles. You can also, in your experience section, cover your achievements and your qualifications. Right? What definitely should be included in your CV is your strengths. So this section will then show what skills you have, both tangible skills and intangible skills. For example, are you versed in technology softwares like Microsoft Teams, Adobe Illustrator, InDesign, or are you good at leadership or problem solving or relationship management, right? So your strengths should include both your technical strengths, but also your soft skills. Then, if you want to, including hobbies and your interests can also is a great way to actually communicate your individual personality. So you can try to only include activities and passions which will increase your value as a candidate. Right. So personal interest and hobbies you add to your resume should be relevant to the position, to the company, and to the team. Right. So just remember that employees want someone who will fit into their culture, their brand, their values. Right. So don't add more than maximum five hobbies and interests. Right. So what do you enjoy? What do you get up to in your free time? Are you a avid cyclist? Or do you enjoy reading or board games or hiking? This can also give potential employers a glimpse into your personality. Right. So just remember that a lot of the information you place in your LinkedIn profile can also be applied to your written CV and vice versa. Right. So in terms of your personal information, make sure that there's a summary section at the top of your resume, as we mentioned earlier. But also, if you may not have a lot of experience, if you do lack experience, then highlight your skills, your strengths, your education in your summary, even if you don't have a lot of experience to add in. So your personal information should definitely include your full name, right? Your contact details, your preferred email address, your phone numbers. If you have a website, add in your web address and your social media platforms like LinkedIn, for example. If you are maybe applying for a creative role and you showcase some of your creative skills on Instagram, you could also include your Instagram profile as an example. Right? So again, in terms of the header, your header in the personal information section should match the role that you are applying for, even if it's kind of new to you. Right? So for example, that should include sales assistant or product designer or marketing executive. Right? Make your summary short and sweet, right? And this will tell people then why are you passionate about the role that you currently are in or that you are applying for. Right, so in your experience section, when you create your CV, we break it down, right? So the work experience section of your CV is where you show your professional track record. So this needs to be really accurate in terms of the dates you provide, and use this section to highlight your achievements. And you can include relevant points that prove that you are the right person for the job that you are applying for. So the words you use, how you word your experience in your CV should that you send to an employer may vary from one role that you're applying for to another. So you should not just keep your CV stock standard, but carefully look at your CV in terms of the roles that you are applying for, and if you should make any changes or updates to align with those roles. So you break down experience in terms of what did you do, what did you achieve, and then also how does it relate to the role that you are applying for. So consider the impact that you had on a previous business or in your current role, right? And if you use this method to break down your experience, it can also be used in your interview. Right. So this is where you can then have bullet points included with examples or explanations as an example. Right. Again, always consider the impact that you had on a specific business. Right. So how do we then translate experience into strengths? Right. So you should draw on your strengths. Now, sometimes it's hard to do that. So as an example, or a way to exercise or help you identify your own strengths, think about, from a tangible experience to a strength. Consider maybe a recent work experience that you've had, or maybe a volunteering experience, something that you feel has had an impact on your life. So what did you learn from that experience? what are you good at? What were you good at? Right? And then also, what did that activity entail? What were your responsibilities? So, for example, maybe you are great at organizing content on spreadsheets or communicating to different team members or different teams, or communicating at different levels of an organization. Right? So, you should include your technical skills, but also your soft skills like teamwork or adaptability or problem solving, creativity, right? And also then, what are your actual technical skills like design or data analysis or social media management or resource management? So it kind of should be a combination of, exactly what it is that you are good at. Right. I need you to reflect for a moment. What are your top 3 skills? Right. You can write them in the chat if you feel confident. But what are your top 3 strengths? Are you a good leader? Are you maybe a good writer or a good designer? Are you great at networking or managing other people? Do you have leadership skills? Right? Think about your top 3 strengths, and then think about, why did you choose? Why do you think those are your 3 strengths? And what can you do with those strengths? So once you've identified your strengths, what can you contribute to a company in terms of your strengths? Right? You can then create now writing your CV can be a little bit daunting, or it can be, something that's not always that easy or come naturally to everybody. But you can you can use Google Docs, and Google Docs actually offer CV templates. Right? I see some strengths coming into the chat. Thanks, Vincent. Says his strengths are design, training, and project management. Fantastic. Right. Good. Thanks, Vincent. Right. Okay. So Google Docs then offer CV templates that you can will help guide you and help you to define your experiences into digestible bites. So it makes it easy for recruiters or HR managers to actually analyze the data in your CV. Right. So this is where you then include the personal information, your experience, your strengths, and your hobbies and interests. So breaking down your CV into these sections or different sections of information makes it easy to update and easy to share quickly with others. So this means that you can also apply for jobs faster and get fast feedback too. Right. So you can create a CV on Google Docs with simple steps. So if you once you've downloaded Google Docs or access Google Docs, you can then select resume templates, right? You can enter all of your information in terms of the sections that we just spoke about and then customize them. And then you can save it as a PDF. But make sure that you create a copy of the template, as each application that you send may vary slightly in terms of the content that you include. Right? You can also create a digital CV on mobile. So you can use the Google Doc app to create your CV on mobile, which is kind of the same process. You will select a template, edit the content, and then export to PDF. Now, I'm not sure if you know about this tool, but on LinkedIn, you can also export your LinkedIn profile as a PDF, and it's beautifully laid out. So if you choose the export to PDF option from LinkedIn, it's already laid out into logical sections based on the information on LinkedIn, and it's really complete and it looks great. And on LinkedIn, there's also a build your resume option that you can use for free to actually build a really great looking CV straight from your LinkedIn profile. And then that will help you to, save some time when you need to start from scratch. So once you've written your CV, it takes time to get it done, right? But once you've written your CV, you can then always use these tools to strengthen your CV, to make sure that you adjust, that you tweak, that maybe you've attended another course or completed another qualification or worked on a project. Then you can also always effectively update your CV. Your CV is never done. Your LinkedIn profile is never done. So you should always, even those of you who use LinkedIn regularly and have complete profiles on there, make sure that you regularly audit your LinkedIn profile and make sure that's always written for potential employers or your potential audience that you would like to communicate to. Right. Okay. So let's then look at, I don't see any questions in the chat, but we'd love to answer your questions if you have any. So please let us know. But let's then move on to how to craft a cover letter there. So why do we use cover letters, right? And there are different users, but it's very important that you do have a well-written cover letter that accompanies your CV when you apply for a role. So a cover letter is a way to show off a little bit more of your personality outside of your CV, where your CV may be very factual and bullet points and factual information. Your cover letter can be a little bit more where your personality comes through. So it also lets your employer learn more about you, your personality, the words you use, and also gain insight as to why you are applying for a role. So your CV is supposed to be short and sweet, concise, and your cover letter then is the perfect way to give a little bit more information about your achievements and your strengths. Right? So according to a report from Career Builder, 45% of recruiters reject applicants who do not have cover letters. And also 54% reject resumes that are not customized for a job. So make sure that you do not just copy and paste and just send out your stock standard cover letter or your CV to all jobs. Make sure that you really read the requirements and then customize the keywords, the summaries, and how you actually portray the content in your CV and your cover letter for those specific roles. Right? So what can you include in a cover letter? Now, here's a step-by-step explanation on how to build your cover letter. Right? So we start off with, we need to start really strong with making sure that you address the person that you are writing to. If you know the name of the person, use the name. Otherwise, you can use to whom it may concern. But addressing the person who's going to read your cover letter is just as important. It was a really very important step for writing an effective cover letter. Right? So next, you should introduce yourself. So this is where you write your summary, a bit about who you are, what you are interested in, what job are you applying for. For example, are you applying for a marketing assistant or a graphic designer role or a sales assistant role? And then where you heard about the role. Was the role advertised on LinkedIn or CareerJet or Indeed? Right? So always mention those few elements in your summary. And then you summarize yourself, right? So this is about a chance to tell people more about you so they can learn about your passions and your likes. Make it short and sweet, right? But include what is important to you. What are those things that you are good at? What are your strengths, your technical skills, your soft skills, right? What do you enjoy doing? And why are you applying for the specific job? So try and relate all these points together to match why you are applying. Right, so now you need to actually tell the recruiter why you are the right candidate. So the problem versus the solution paragraph is a chance for you to show off your knowledge of the industry and the company that you want to get involved in, right? So remember that your cover letter is a chance to actually convince the employers that you would be a suitable candidate for the role. So talk about what you know about the company that you are applying for. What do you like about the company? Why do you want to be in the industry that you're trying to get into or the role that you're trying to get into? Right, next, you need to write about your relevant achievements. Okay, so where the problem versus solution paragraph is a chance to show off your achievements and experiences, this is now a chance for you to really draw attention to your best attributes. So make sure that you relate the achievements and skills that you've learned in the role that you are in to the role that you are applying for. So talk about certificates that you've earned, volunteering on specific projects, your achievements, the languages that you speak. If you speak or understand different languages, also indicate your proficiency level. Can you read, write, and speak a language, or are you fully versed in a language, or can you understand the basics? List your skills, technical skills and soft skills, and then again your hobbies and interests. Right, then lastly, your sign off is how you end your cover letter. So you need to express that you are keen to hear from them, right? Make it clear that you are expecting to hear from them and really keen. And then let them know that if they need any more information, that you're happy to share it in case you've maybe left something out. And end then formally with a many thanks or kind regards and your name. Right. You're very quiet in the chat today. I don't see a lot of questions, but if there are, let us know. Right. Okay. So that brings us to the end of our session today. Now, what are your next steps? As always, these sessions are just a beginning, right? So I need you to think about what are those things that you can change after today, or what are those steps that you can take. Maybe you need to go and optimize your LinkedIn profile. Maybe you just need to go and connect with the right people. So what do you need to implement first? What are the things that you need to change? Remember that you always need to upskill, right? So Nelson will type the chat or have type the LinkedIn for us in the chat in terms of where you can find more courses to upskill, always upskill. And remember, those mentoring sessions are available for small business owners and people who work in charities. Don't forget to follow the Google Digital Skills for Africa projects on social media. So where you can find a lot of helpful tips and tricks and stay up to date with upcoming training sessions coming up. Right, so that brings us to the end of our session today. Thank you very much for joining in. And you are welcome to let us know if you have any questions, and keep an eye on our social media channels for the Digital Marketing Academy for future courses coming up. And we look forward to see you again and train you some more. Thank you very much for joining.